All right, so it has been a couple months since I worked on the outside, getting the primer on and finalizing the paint stripping and all that. I needed a bit of a break. That was a heck of a year, just the whole summer stripping paint. Got a lot done, but not as far as I wanted to. That being said, we're just gonna keep moving on it. It's starting to get cold outside, so I'm gonna move on to the inside here and get the rest of this gutted. And we're just gonna be working on a bunch of little stuff over the winter as time allows. I've been chipping away little by little, getting the inside demoed, but there's still a lot left. There's a lot of things that kind of have to be carefully dissected and put back together. But there's a few things I've learned. So as this sat over the winter, I had hoped that when I redid the windows, I put new butyl tape in, I waited to demo the inside all last summer because I used the thickness of the wall to kind of sandwich the windows in with their inside trim, hoping that that tape would get a really good seal and it would hold the windows in. That didn't work, long story short. I knew that was a little risky, but I walked out here in the spring and I noticed the front window was actually, water was pouring in and it was falling out of the camper. So thankfully I caught it before it went. I ran some screws in the side, same with some of these big ones behind me. But that was a little bit disheartening because I've now realized that these windows are gonna have to come out again. But I'm in the process now of starting to try to close up openings like this water heater one. I'm probably going to have to put a temporary piece on because I can't get the right cover for it very quickly. Just things like that. I want to start getting lights on where I can, start getting the water inlet on where I can, any patch panels, things like that. I just want to try to prevent massive amounts of water from coming in here. And then when we get to a point where we're ready to insulate and all that, it's going to happen quick. So sorry to drone on, but just that's a quick update with where we're at. And so next step is to just start dissecting. So you can see here, there's a lot of different parts of this that they've been built from the outside, and I'm not taking the skins off. That would be the correct way to do this, but I'm just not doing that. I believe I can get good enough wood joinery from the inside to make this sturdy again. However, the screws are from the outside in many spots, so I have to very carefully dissect and then rebuild as I go. So bear with me here. This is going to be a slow, tedious process, so this video is going to be a lot of that. This is kind of neat. This is where the trailer plug comes in, and so when I bought this, I pulled all these out and wired in a new plug. You're not in the best shape. I did it in a hurry, but the thing I thought was interesting, there's this kind of backing piece of plywood that is on from the factory, and then there's these couple square drive screws. They obviously didn't have a screw that was short enough, so they actually put a nut on there to make sure it didn't poke out the front. I love finding stuff like that. Can't say I'm surprised to find this, but this is the back passenger corner. Now that I've finally gotten this out, this is actually still wet to the touch, and it's just super rotten. So that's a bummer. That's definitely the worst part of the floor that I've found so far. But you can see there's plywood along the whole back here that's all just gotten soaked. So some of that's my fault because I've left these openings the way they are, but I also know the window is still leaking and water's running down here. So there's lots of work to be done here, but we're just going to keep ripping this apart and seeing what it's going to take to put it back together. So we are now working on putting the bunk windows in. These are a couple of the last big holes that I have that I need to get closed up to get this thing a little more dried in, and at this point try to keep the bees out and the wasps out. So I've done the other side of this just to kind of figure out the process here, and so now I'm going to show you guys this side. Before I do that, I'm going to show you a quick video of rebuilding these. I took these all apart, stripped the paint off, and I found new gaskets on Vintage Trailer Supply. So they call it the back frame gasket to go around the back of this, and then also the glass gasket, which is all silicone. So these particular windows are made by Hair. The particular style is actually pretty common. It's on a lot of campers, I've learned. This one that I'm putting in now was damaged. The mechanism that opened it had broken, and they had screwed this shut with some self-tappers. And so I was lucky enough to find someone that was parting out one of these, and I was able to get a replacement the exact same size. And so I'm going to see if I can make this work. But this is kind of going to be a multi-step process here. So eventually this is going to get butyl tape on the top, and then we're going to caulk around the bottom three sides. And then this gets riveted through the butyl tape. And then underneath the back frame gasket, it actually gets self-tappers holding it in. In order to caulk this properly, I need to use silicone, which I don't like to use. It's one of my least favorite caulks. In my opinion, it's like way overused, and it's not a very good product. However, this is silicone rubber, and so silicone is the correct choice here. But if I get any of that silicone on the surfaces that are going to be painted, the paint will not stick to them. So I'm going to be very careful to tape this off and then silicone, and then I'll remove the tape. So in order to figure out where I need to put my tape, I'm going to get this in, and I'm just going to kind of visually determine where the best place for this is. I was worried that my old rivet holes might prevent me from getting this in the right spot, but I think it's actually going to be okay. It looks like I can probably grab the back one, and then all four others are going to be new. So I'm just visually lining this up with the siding here to make sure that it's roughly flat and level. And then I'm going to kind of draw the corners here and up and down the sides and the bottom to know where this is going to sit. Now the other thing I'm going to do, which I didn't do on the other side, but I think is probably a good idea, is put some flashing tape on here. I got some zip system flashing tape, and I'm going to just tape the metal to the wood, so if water were ever to get in here, it would sit on that and it wouldn't rot out the wood nearly as fast. So I got this marked. I'm going to grab the zip tape and we'll get this taped up. Okay, decided to run the caulk on the actual window. Could do it on the ground. So you can see that I've got butyl tape on the top. I've got a nice fat bead of caulk all the way around the 3 other sides. So I am going to carefully place this in, trying to get the top first. And we're going to start getting this riveted. Okay, top is riveted. We're switching to screws now. All we have to do here is peel back the back frame gasket. However, I have to do it carefully because we don't want to peel the bottom out, only the top, so that the screw holds it in place. If we peel the bottom out, then it's going to have a big bulge inside. It's a little bit of a mad dash there, but you get the idea. It went in okay. It's not perfect. We've got some globs coming out the sides, and the gasket's not sitting maybe as flat as I'd like it to. But we're going to call that a win. It's in, and we can tweak it a little bit later. But the important part here is getting this silicone cleaned up before it sets on anything that I don't want it to, including myself. So I just wiped off the bigger globs, and now I'm going to come back here, peel this tape off, and then we'll go in some of this alcohol and make sure that we don't have any silicone where we don't want it. If you're watching this and you're wondering why I hate silicone, this is why. It makes your job so much harder, and at some point it will come back to haunt you and mess up a paint job or two. And so I've gone to using caulks that are mineral spirit based. Sorry, my camera's moving here, the door's blowing in the wind. So I've gone to using caulks that are all mineral spirit based, and the reason for that is because they're paintable and they hold up way better, and things can stick to them. Nothing sticks to silicone, not even silicone. Once it's cured, you're done. So I'm using it here because I have to, but I hate it and I wouldn't recommend ever using it. Okay, silicone's cleaned up. Our last step here is to just clean up this butyl tape, and I'm just going to use a utility knife for this. I'm just going to carefully make a sawing motion. Probably should go get my plastic scraper. It'll probably work even better. But it's not too hot here over in the shade. This seems to be working. Okay. At some point down the road, I will caulk the top of this with clear caulk, probably before I paint. I haven't fully decided on that yet, but this will get caulk on the top, just to have one more layer of waterproofing, but otherwise that is good to go. All right, so all the big holes are filled in now. We've got patch panels on, we've got bunk windows in, and everything is basically demoed on the inside now. So the next video is going to be removing the belly pan, which I'm really not looking forward to, but that's the last major demo step to see what we're up against. I have a feeling there'll be some surprises under there, so that'll be an interesting process, climbing around underneath on the gravel. But that'll be coming up. So follow along, and we'll see you on the next one.